Hey everybody, welcome back. This is Gary. I am Eric. Today we are smoking the Dirty Rat. It's part of the Liga Único series by Drew Estate. We're talking about a couple different interesting topics today. We're talking about leaving a legacy for our grandkids, sort of a virtual video legacy that they'll get to see us at this age. And also talking about the first couple weeks of boot camp, Marine Corps boot camp, compared to the first couple weeks of college. All that and a lot more on Cedar Culture.
Kick back and relax, it's time to shoot the shit. Hanging out with the broskies, Gary and Eric. Let the ash go long and the convo stay pure. That's Cedar Culture. That's Cedar Culture. That's Cedar Culture.
Let's bundle these leaves and burn them and suck on them.
Look like you're in flight control.
Does it really?
Yeah. You have a good head for headphones.
I have a good head for. I have a big round head. That's probably why it fills them in, so it just looks, like it
I like
fits
it.
them in nicely. Dirty rat, you dirty rat.
I know. Episode 21.
Episode 21.
But
So this
our
is kind of like
episodes can legally drink now.
our episodes can legally drink. This is like I feel almost the way we're doing a different rat every on the ones.
Yeah.
1, 11, episode 21 now. It almost feels like a new season. Like this is
Yeah.
the start of season 3.
I like that. And I could say when you look
Oh,
at
wait,
DJ,
no.
so you're on the ones and
Yeah,
twos.
start of
Yeah.
season 3.
Zero.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the zeros, the 10s, and the
Yeah.
all
Dude, my
right, so Dirty
foil
Rat.
and my foil came off in one shot. That's got to be good luck. Something.
That is.
We were just pulled out from under there.
There we
Yeah.
go. Got it. The foil's off.
Dude, they are beautiful sticks. Chocolatey brown.
I know.
Cool label.
We've been really looking forward to smoking this one for a while. So let's
Pigtail,
just get
flattened
into it.
pigtail, and see, it's like one little twist. It's not even like a finished pigtail.
Yeah, it's like a fan tail,
Mm-hmm.
a peacock tail.
Ducktails.
Ooh. That would be a cool shirt.
Ooh, I like that.
So I didn't even really get any stats on this. We know it's made in Nicaragua because it's Drew Estate, but other than that,
I even
I
tried
just
to
want to
do.
smoke it.
I just
talk.
want to smoke it too.
Let's
Let's
just
smoke
smoke
it and talk.
bullshit.
I like that.
So
It is a Corona size, which definitely would not be my first
'Cause it's too small
choice. I
for
don't
your
know. It's
big,
like
meaty
I
hands.
know. Well, yeah, my sausage fingers. But we always talk about sizes and affecting the flavor. And actually, the little bit of research I did on this one, the whole reason the Unico series started was back when Saka was president. They found a couple of blends that did not fit into the number 9 or the T52 category.
and just to taste good, like
They,
size.
they felt like these tasted better in the Corona and the Lancero size. So hence
interesting.
the rat. But still don't know why the first one was. You'd think Year of the Rat would be the first one. And then Dirty, and then the other ones would.
No, because that's part of sort of that whole myth thing. Because Year of the Rat is really unrelated. Like it's all kind of unrelated to the zodiac, and it's not.
Although they
that's-
capitalized on it.
They capitalize on it a little bit, but that's just not the main premise of it. So it's, I don't know. I don't know the why. I give up on the why, but I do have a really cool fact.
All right, I'm in.
All right, so groundhogs, their teeth grow 1/16 of an inch every week. But they're kept short throughout the groundhog's life by them kind of grinding on each other as they eat.
Okay,
And so groundhogs will actually kind of gnaw on things, and that's partly why it keeps their teeth in check.
sure.
However, if their teeth happen to grow a little off center of each other and they don't grind against each other, there's nothing to stop them from growing. And so the bottom teeth will grow up over and can sometimes go hit the skull and maybe deflect off and kind of grow to the side. But sometimes it happens to hit where the eye is, so it's all soft tissue, and the teeth will actually grow in through the eyeball
No
over time and
way.
into the brain and kill them.
And then what a slow death.
Yeah, that's the thing. Oh, and that was another thing that I read too, was that it is you can tell it's a slow death because when they're kind of been found in the wild dead, the brain membrane matter is grown over the
So it's healed.
it's healing as it's
Oh,
happening
man.
and stuff kind of.
Wow.
So how's your cigar? This is delicious. It's every time it's
And
a
dude,
memory.
true to form, they just pour foot smoke. I mean, it's good construction, good stuff. It's savory. It's got that. And I did smell. I didn't do it on camera, but I was smelling it. I got a little hint of that barnyardy smell that I was
Yeah.
liking, and I was like,
I get
okay.
the. Do you remember me calling it like one of the other rats saying it had like a biltong, like
Mhm.
that type of jerky? So it's kind of funny when I said that. You
I
know,
remember you were joking like
you-
that's pretty specific jerky.
pretty specific, right? So in a group text, weeks later, somebody else on the group text says, "Man, I've really been getting into biltong lately. Any other fans?" And I was like, "Man, I've been on biltong. Like, what do you like? You're late to the party." And everybody else in the thread was like, "What the fuck are you guys talking about?"
Oh, dude, and
But it still
biltong-
tastes like that to me.
No, and I understand what you're saying, and it's like that savory. It's like, what's that? What's that Japanese style of cooking where it's like just there's tons of flavor?
Umami, like
Yes.
that earthy. Yeah,
Like
that's
that-
a good. That's a good description, I think. So I was thinking, like on one of my walks, you know, one of my elevated thoughts on a walk, and
Isn't it a great thing to walk and just think and be
Yeah.
be with yourself? And I like it.
and I don't know why it just finally hit me to some degree, sort of how these episodes are like we're at, you know, almost a half a year now, and over time it's like chronicling our life in a way too. But it really started dawning on me that I don't see any reason for YouTube to just disappear, like for them to just take the website down and say, hey, it's been a good run. So like 30 years from now, your grandkids could watch this, like, or like after you die, like at your funeral, they could pull clips of this.
Oh
like,
my gosh!
and like, wouldn't you? I've never really. I think at times we've all had a random thought of,
Mhm.
oh, it would have been cool to know my grandfather when he was like in World War II. What was he like
Yeah.
back then? But I've never really thought like your grandkids are gonna get to do that through, and technology by then they'll probably be able to analyze the videos and then do a recreation of you
Oh my
as like a,
gosh.
you know what I mean? But even put that
What a
side,
waste of technology.
but put that side, but put that even the sci-fi part out of it for a second, and just the
It's like
idea,
a video diary.
just the idea that your grandkids are gonna know you, like who you are.
Or be able to,
So-
what was the cigar my dad liked or my grandfather
Yeah.
liked, and be like, oh wow, they really liked
Yeah.
whatever. Dirty
So-
Rat. Let me pick one up in celebration of them.
So if there was a Bill and Ted moment and a phone booth landed here and your grandkid walked out right now and you had like 5 seconds, what's one thing you would want them to know about you?
What's one thing I would want that I tried my best. That I
That's
gave
fun.
it. I gave it my all. I you know, didn't have the most skill. You
Isn't
know,
that wild? Your grandkids might actually hear that. Like
I
one
gave
day.
I
That's
gave it
wild.
my best. I gave it my best. This is it. This is what you're getting. Sorry for the weird DNA that whatever skipped generations and came down your way. How about you? What would you say to your lineage? What would you
Get a DNA test because I don't have kids, so so it's not me. It's not mine.
What if they create something where you don't know? Where
Create
you
a
can,
thing.
I don't know, where then you can like
I can have grandkids without having kids.
Yeah.
A skip generation birth to my. What would I want?
Dude, you
my-
know they're gonna create something, some form of, but like birth is uncomfortable. Like you know they're gonna
Oh,
create
well,
some
that's what's it called?
Yeah.
That's the Demolition Man. Is that the movie?
with the 3 shells.
Yeah. Well, but the sex part.
Right, they didn't have sex.
Yeah, they put headsets on.
Dude, we can't go to Walmart without masks on. Like, what if sex like goes away? What if that like goes away?
That would be that's there's no way. It's funny because they show, you know, like The Simpsons predicts reality like
Mhm.
constantly and stuff. That's one thing that's never going to be proven to be true. Like it's never going to be proven that we just decide that we don't like sex anymore. Sex is getting so much more ubiquitous too. Like it's talked about and open and like it's wild.
And I just like hearing your, talking about chronicling your life, like hearing like things you go through
On dating.
on dating. Just
Oh
I
my
don't know.
God.
Like we
Dating
joke.
is a dumpster fire right now, but
But-
I'm on track on like my weight loss and my business goals. So like, all right, 2 out of 3 so far. We're on track.
Well, I also feel like when you look at the timeline of your life, nothing's ever like
Mm-mm.
you're always juggling balls, right? So you're,
Yeah.
you're either dropping balls in your relationships, you're dropping balls at
In
work,
your
you're
mouth.
dropping balls.
Yeah.
Hey, if that's what you're into, that's what you're into, man. But you know what I mean? Like you're never like, I got it. If you're
Oh,
a plate
yeah.
spinner in the circus,
Oh, that's true.
you always got to run back to that first one and keep it going before you can go on.
No, that is true. There's an actual term for it too, like a business
Plate
term.
spinning.
Yeah. Yeah.
Plate spinning for dummies,
There's
I believe. It's a
carny.
good book.
No, I forget like a business term too, or like a kind of a school of thought, or I forget what it's called, a term. Yeah, but yeah, generally that, like, especially when you're kind of in charge of a lot of things, like whether you're a leader in a business or just in your life, where everybody's in charge of a lot of things in your life.
Right.
But yeah, like that's kind of like a known philosophy or something like that. That it's like it's okay, and that's where I guess we get into this trouble with social media because. Like a lot of people might have 3 plates spinning and like 2 crashing on the ground, and their 3 that are spinning are the ones they're putting on social media.
Oh, sure.
So all you ever see is like plates spinning. You're like, wow, the universe has 1,000,000 plates spinning. I can't have 2.
Right.
I can't even get 2. But it's like, well, no, the universe doesn't have. There's a lot more plates on the ground that. Maybe this has gone too far.
No, I like exactly what you're saying, and why I'm drifting off in my head is I'm thinking we had a new person start at work, and I've heard, when I started working 15 years ago, like being the low man on the totem pole, I couldn't imagine being like, wow, 10 years in, 20 years in, like it just you don't even fathom yourself in that way.
Yeah.
So I got to hear people be like, hey, if you have an issue, go to Gary because like he can kind of calmly walk you through it, or he's probably been through something similar in the context of the job I've been doing a little bit,
Yeah.
But it was just nice hearing that, like, the advice I gave to someone 3 or 4 years ago when they started, like, stuck with them.
Yeah.
Like, hey, don't make this your life.
It's funny
like, make sure you find time to be with friends and be with your family because you're replaceable. I don't know. It was just kind of cool. Like you said, you don't get to hear that. Like, it wasn't my funeral. It wasn't like a retirement.
Oh, right.
I got to hear in real time someone say, hey, Gary gave me this advice, and it was pretty cool. And I was like, wow, like, it makes you feel like, all right, maybe a couple nuggets stuck out there. Threw some stuff at the wall, something stuck.
It's funny that we kind of wound up here in conversation because one of the things that I was thinking about earlier today was just that concept of like really reflecting, not the idea of thinking about like, oh, I would have done this differently, but like really reflecting on previous decisions and like learning from them, like really taking the time to learn from. So different than what you're saying, but similar in that, looking through like the different phases of life and where you've come in your journey. What I do sometimes too is not just learn from the past, but almost put myself like back in that position and try to understand why I did what I did at that time.
Yeah.
Like I this is kind of weird. Like I had started taking, Wellbutrin, like a depression medicine at one point, and I had felt great, and then I felt great, and I started dating this girl, and at one point I stopped taking the Wellbutrin. I don't know why. It almost like felt like it wasn't doing its job, but like it probably was.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't even think about it. Our relationship went to shit, whatever. And then the other day I was going for a walk and I was just thinking about that relationship at that time and where it went wrong and all that. And it was for the first time I connected the dots. I was like, holy shit, it went south when I stopped taking the Wellbutrin.
Wow.
Like I never noticed that overlap before.
Right.
And so that's like a weird way that I mean of like truly digging in the past and like truly like learning from it, like really getting into that position again and being like, holy shit, like, okay, here's what I need to do differently next time.
And you know what? I totally understand what you're saying. And not only that, like I apply hearing what you say into my life and into like my role as even like a dad. I try to tell my kids all the time, like, mom and I, or any adult in your life, like, we didn't know the right choice. We just tried to make sense. And that's why I try to tell them to like kind of keep your focus on what's going on, because like that choice leads to the next one. Like whatever option you take leads to the next set of doors.
Yeah.
And then whatever door you open is ultimately going to lead to the next set of doors, So like you said,
Like
backtracking
labyrinth.
and going, it is.
Like, oh my God.
But I'm going to tell you, man, I think our generation self-reflection, I feel like we go, oh, we got to 35. We know everything now. We're good. Like no more growth. Don't need to.
That's probably every generation. Every kid, every person thinks they haven't figured it out. And then, and then it's not till, at this stage, then at this stage, and then at this stage, even now I remember thinking back, now I think back to when I was getting out of the Marine Corps, or even when I went into the Marine Corps. And, the big thing when you kind of get into the Marine Corps and you're like 19 years old, a big common phrase that you start using is, I'm a grown-ass man.
Right.
Literally, that's a phrase that comes out of your mouth very often. You're
Yeah.
like, I'm a grown ass man. I can, as you're like kind of propping yourself up.
The rooster
And you're
chest.
19 years old, and so
But we all,
and so when
you
you're
know.
at 38, 39, you look back at that and you're like, wow, like I was such a baby.
But dude, it happens in every animal. I mean, the younger lion challenges the leader of the pride to be like, yo, and at some
Yo.
point,
I can see a lion saying that.
at some
Yo.
point, I know. I don't know why Yo wasn't in the Lion King. It really
Lion,
should have.
yo.
Like, yo, Scar.
Dropping ash.
But like someone like, and there is, and in society, that next generation does take over. Like I'm gonna rely on my kids at some point, not only for my stability, but to make some decent decisions on my life and healthcare, and throw the old man in a home, or like throw him in some back of someone's garage. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I do think that concept of like really imparting wisdom, that is something I question our generation on. Like a previous generation,
Like we would need the wisdom first before we could impart it.
Yeah, but no, I think generations before us, I don't know. I think generally speaking, like right now, maybe we're just more into our phones and stuff than we are about creating experiences all the time. And I do think there's like a lot of life lessons that kids aren't getting now, probably because even through like automation and technology, that kids, I don't know, maybe don't even know exist or that we're doing today. You can use, I don't know, for some reason, this fundamental thing's coming into my mind, like balancing a checkbook.
Yeah.
Which we've really never had to do, even in our generation, because by the time we became adults, online banking was a thing.
I'll just check my balance.
Yeah, once you have online banking, you don't need to balance your checkbook.
It's a game. It's just numbers. Are there
we
numbers
don't,
in
we
there?
don't write checks,
Right.
so like you don't really have a bunch of checks floating out there that you actually need to keep a ledger on so much anymore. But yeah, we're definitely losing. That's like more specific life skills, but I think in general, just I don't know why it just feels like we're not creating teachable moments as much as much as we're relying on technology or the TV or whatever it is to do the education.
No, I agree. And here we are relying completely on technology for teaching. Like my kids have been on remote learning since last year because of the pandemic. And I've seen a strain on their mental health and physical health, and it's definitely impacted. We're going to a birthday party for the first time in forever, and that's only because a family rented out legitimately one entire place, and they're going to do temperature checks. And
that's crazy.
It is.
That's
like
wild.
Our birthday party is going to be a thing anymore. Like
Yeah, no, they will. I mean, it's getting.
Promise me, Eric.
Yeah, it's getting close. I've got my first dose of the vaccine down.
Are you sure they gave you the first dose and not the second dose? Did you see all that happening in Pennsylvania?
No.
Apparently, like things weren't labeled correctly, and they gave like a bulk of the people, like thousands, dose 2 instead of dose 1. It's the same medicine and a different concentration. It's the same.
I don't know.
Just a higher. So what I think they were doing is giving you a milder version of that medicine to get your body to build up something to it, and then you go back and get the big one. Because I heard like
the second one can put you under.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I wonder if people's reactions to that first one were, which was really the second one.
Which is kind of trippy because they say you want to have a big reaction to the second one because they say.
That means you got something.
It means you're having a good. Yeah, seriously, it
Right.
means you had like the proper immune response or something like that.
Oh, that's good.
But it's a double-edged sword. 'Cause you're gonna get the shot, and then I guess you have to hope you get really sick for a day.
It's like you got to go on this roller coaster. It's literally gonna make you vomit.
I hate roller coasters.
I'm not a roller coaster.
No, are you?
I'm
not like a thrill. I'm not a thrill seeker at all. I'm kind of a bitch.
Which is fun. No, I don't think you would. Like
on that stuff.
You built mud runs,
but
and
that's
like
different than.
I don't know, dude.
Like,
those things were tough.
A water park though. Like I'm not like on heights. Like I'm not going through that big woo like drive.
Yeah.
The big woo.
Speaking of the big woo, when we ran the Tough Mudders, that was the hardest thing for me, jumping off of the height. Like that was. Like that
into the
kicked
water.
me in the gut.
You mean like the.
Yeah. So what was it? 20, 25 feet?
Not even.
Not even 15,
10,
maybe.
10, 15. Yeah, probably.
My body said jump 100 times, and my mind was like, nope,
oh yeah, no.
Nope.
I think it took me longer than you. Like, I think I took a while. I didn't go right away. The second one that was bigger. So the first one was more into like a
lake or
lake thing. The second one
was big.
There was a big one. You're right.
Like 20-ish.
It was the one that was hilly in the Poconos. That was
That was a short one. That was like 10 or 15,
Right, into a
12
smaller
maybe.
lake. So it was the other one where it was almost until it felt like a more of a bigger open body of water, right? And that was high. That one took me a while. That one was high. And I'm just not a strong
And
swimmer.
that's why, like, speaking of you doing the Marines and all that, like, that course showed me that I was just not potential for that kind of stuff. Like, I watched
I
the SEAL
wasn't,
stuff. I watched
but
that stuff.
I
I
did
don't know
it,
how.
but it wasn't like, yeah,
I did it because I
that
was like, there's nowhere for me to go. Like, you got to jump
So I
off.
will say, I think I mentioned this in in one of our episodes too. One of the parts of boot camp. So they have the classic obstacle course that was highlighted in like Full Metal Jacket,
Right.
and
You said that had a
stuff.
name. That had a.
Well, that's like the obstacle course. They call it the O course, and then there's the confidence course. Is
Okay.
the other one. That might be the one you're
Yeah.
talking about, where it's more, it's not for time. It's more
Just finish
it. Some of it's teamwork stuff. So how you've got, sometimes it'll be, you're like on this platform, and let's say it's 4 stories high, but it's all platforms stacked right over each other with no ladders. So you kind of can't, like, there's no way to get up onto. But you have to do like teamwork things, like, so some of that stuff, that which is different than the Crucible. The Crucible in boot camp is the last thing, where it's all teamwork stuff. It's all like trust fall kind of stuff, but then more complex too. That's really cool stuff. But no, the confidence course is, the one where you're on a tightrope and you have to slide down the rope over a body of water. You fall on a net or whatever.
I think back to Cliffhanger.
It's just like that. No, but so we were just kind of hit on it for a second. I was talking about how at 19, in the Marine Corps, they pump you up, and you're like, I'm a grown ass man kind of thing or whatever. And
I'm waiting for one of my sons to say that to me. I'm like,
well, your kid will probably be 6'5" when they say it, so I don't know.
I know. I'm gonna have to be like, you are. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Here's the car keys. Sorry.
But it got me thinking too, to just some of the differences between the experience of like going to boot camp, like that 13 weeks of Marine Corps boot camp versus the first 13 weeks of college. And I thought it'd be fun for us to talk about a little bit, like, kind of almost step by step. So, and for me, it's different because at the 7-day mark is when 9/11 happened.
That's
too.
insane.
So like it'll be a neat little parallel to talk through.
Yeah.
So for me, that first week, they call it forming week in boot camp. So that's when, first you're getting there, and it's on the bus, and there's the yellow footprints that everybody's seen. You know what I'm talking about?
Yep.
Like, so you get off the bus, the yellow footprints, and that's when they just start really getting into you. So prior to that, to get on the bus, you're flying into an airport, and you get picked up by a Marine. I presume they're a drill instructor, but they're not. I forget what they call it. So drill instructors, and I'll talk a bit about that too, but a boot camp cycle is incredibly intense on them too, because they have to keep the schedule too. Between like 3 of them, there's 3 of them, and there's a platoon of like 80, and so of 80 recruits, and so there's 80 recruits who's like, you're in charge of their life, like the drill instructor's in charge of your life too, like they're putting you in risky situations, and so between those 3 people, and it's a 24-hour-a-day job. So anyway, so they do rotations, so it's kind of a drill instructor, but they're not in drill instructor mode.
Okay.
They pick you up at the airport, and so they're just kind of like, all right, like, hey, get the stuff out of your pockets, throw it in the trash, blah blah blah. Like, it's kind of methodical, but you're in an airport, so they're not like going hard, and they get you on.
You're
a
not
bus.
crying yet.
No, and they get you onto a bus, and then it's on that. I just I remember it's like out of a movie. I'm sitting in the seat and with the head resting, because at this point in time too, I had a layover. I'd probably been awake for like almost 24 hours, or like, because I remember having to wake up at like 3 a.m. For my recruiter to pick me up at my house, who took me to Fort Dix in New Jersey, where they do all the processing.
Okay.
And then they bus you over to Philadelphia Airport for a commercial flight down to like South Carolina or whatever. Then you take another puddle jumper to another small airport. Then you're.
Are you in your civilian stuff at this point?
Complete civilian gear. Yep. And then you So now at this point, it's like almost 24 hours later, you're on the bus. I've got that head against the window. It's like almost, you could picture like if it was a movie, the camera would be outside the bus and you'd see the reflection of the trees passing, but you'd kind of see my face through the window too.
The Spielberg moment.
Yeah. And so then you get there, and then now you're there. You're on Paris Island, And that's the classic, what you'll see a lot of times in the documentaries, where you hear the gear of like the bus door opening, like, and then somebody storms on the bus, and they're
No one
freaking
gives
out.
a crap who you are.
Whatever, right? So then they're getting you off, and that's when you're onto the yellow footprints, and
That's
like
cool.
now it's real. And then the first thing they do, if memory serves me correctly, is they march you right in. I call it marching, but you haven't learned how to march yet. So like you're kind of fumbling, walking in a group. Getting yelled at for not marching properly, probably. I believe it's right into the haircut, like, and then it's just like in the movies, it's the buzzer.
You can't be like high and tight, but leave a little on the
No,
side.
in boot camp, it's just it's straight up.
No lice.
It's
Cut
straight
it
up.
off.
Yeah, exactly. It's straight up cut it all off.
Is that why they do it? Like just for cleanliness and easy?
Yeah, hygiene. I'm assuming it's mostly hygiene, because hygiene's a big part of boot camp, actually, and I'll talk about that too, but it's like a main focus. I think because without that main focus, hygiene is so bad in this setting. I mean, you have 80 boy men in a room.
Well, I was going to say, if you want to parallel that to college life, it's disgusting because most people don't know. Like,
Right.
Their moms did everything for them.
Right,
and
that's
you're
kind of
living
part of
with
this
different
conversation too.
personalities,
Is
and you're
I'll
like,
throw in some anecdotes too about coming home from leave, and the term that was really big. When you're a 19-year-old Marine, and you come home on leave, and then you go back to base, and you talk to your Marine buddies about those nasty civilians. Like, nasty civilians is a big phrase you use often in the Marines. Yeah, like when you're young.
We are nasty. They'll give you herpes and stuff.
Oh, there's plenty of that in the Marine Corps too. Trust me.
Do they give you talks about like STDs and stuff?
I'm trying to remember. Oh yeah, well no, they definitely give
Not
you
like
talks.
official talk. Like
No, it's actually part of. So there's. I'm assuming it's still true, but it's kind of like an order in the Marine Corps. Like before every, they don't call it like a weekend, right? It's like 48-hour liberty.
Okay.
And so before that, they have to give you a safety brief. Like somebody of a certain rank or above has to give you a safety briefing. And yeah, it's like it has to involve not drinking and driving and like whatever. And so
Wrap
like
your soldier.
the best safety briefing I ever got was from I believe his name is Gunnery's Sergeant Kotler, if I'm not mistaken. And he was like, all right, Marines, if you drink, don't drive, and if you do, wear a condom. Have a nice weekend.
If you do, I'm just gonna have it on for all 48 hours.
No. It was related to the drinking and driving. It was like, don't drink and drive, and if you do, wear a condom.
Cool.
Yeah, but anyway, so you're in there, you get your head shaved, and then you're at some point, you're kind of in a room basically. Now they got to do all this processing, right? This first week that's all the. They get you your gear, but it's crazy how they do it. So you're kind of go through this assembly line, and it's just what size shoes you, and you say what size pants and what size this, and they're just throwing stuff at you, and you're just collecting it in your arms. But the thing is, like, whatever you say and whatever size they give you, like if it's not right, you're not like, excuse me, sir, I would like to exchange these. Like, you
This
could be
medium's
fucked for
a
a
tad
while.
snug.
Like, you could be fucked for a while, and so. Now you've got all this stuff, and you just look like a bunch of weirdos. So you're wearing camis that are generally ill-fitting, not really tucked in or whatever. You're wearing sneakers, which in boot camp they issued. It was New Balance sneakers, running shoes, but they're not called running shoes or sneakers. They're called Go Fasters. I'm not even joking. So that's your government-issued Go Fasters.
The government has a contract with New Balance.
I guess at the
I
time.
thought it would have been like British Knights or something that they couldn't give away from like the Nickelodeon shows from back in like
New
the
Balance
80s.
isn't exactly like high end.
I'm a dad.
they do-
New Balance is part of our uniform.
But they
too.
do have to get you kind of decent running shoes.
Right, you're going to be.
So they don't, for that first few days to a week, they don't put you in combat boots or anything because they want you to get used to being on your feet this much, just in sneakers, because like fuck your feet up. So you're wearing, and I forget what they call it too. They call it, so there's a term for it too, because then throughout boot camp, when you see the people in their camis and sneakers, they're brand new. So like you pick on them. I forget the term. There's a term for them. I forget when they're in that phase. But anyway, so you're doing this for that first week, and then you're not really getting yelled at a lot. You're not in. It's just forming week. Actually, the drill instructor that's taking you through forming week isn't even your drill instructor. He's also like an off-duty drill instructor.
Oh, right, because he can't be the dude who's nice to you can't then be like screaming
exactly.
at you. Like,
and so he's not nice to you, but he is indoctrinating you a little bit. He's getting you your gear, getting you like this is when you're doing all the shit where you're like literally a herd of cattle getting all your shots that you have to get. There's one, I forget, I don't know what it is, but you have to get it in your butt, and then they don't want it to lump.
It burns, doesn't it?
I forget, but they don't want it to lump up, and so you have to sit on your butt and rock. But there's not a lot of room, and there's a lot of you. And so what you have to do is you have to all as you get it, and then you go to the back of this conga line, basically, and you're sitting down, straddling the person in front of you, like all on your knees with your legs wrapped around the person in front of you in this long line, literally all just rocking back and forth together, so this shot gets like dispersed in your butt cheek.
I want you to do a little
How
research.
close is that to like the first week of college?
Well, very different, except for that part, oddly enough. At least the dorm I was in. But paralleling that, I mean, obviously very different in the fact that, you know, I was lucky enough that my mom and dad were very involved. So, you know, and I had a...
oh, yeah, my parents didn't drop me off at boot camp.
Right, that's what I mean. Like, you know, like, right. Like, so since I was, I had a scholarship on the track team, because honestly, if I didn't get a scholarship, I was probably military bound too. Like, you know, I was the first person, like my sister kind of stayed local. I was the first to kind of go away to a 4-year school, and probably not because I earned the academic ability to.
Right.
I was lucky that I worked hard and enjoyed a sport, and, you know, a college was like, why don't you do this for us and see if it's a good fit. And you kind of have the benefit of moving in a little earlier. You have the athletes get to move.
What's the season? What? Well, does it actually? Does it start in the fall?
It does. Like cross country's first, then you have winter track, and then spring track.
Oh,
but
so
obviously, I'm not a cross country runner.
Okay.
But I was able to move in when the cross country team did because I was on the track team.
Oh, so you get to just be there early with no obligations.
It was actually kind of nice.
Yeah,
like so
because it's not just the male track team that's moving in early.
Right. Everybody's like the females were also moving in too. But, you know, similar thing, I would think, just a lot of forms and stuff. You know, you're on the track team, so you're waiting in lines and stuff. I wasn't getting injected with things. But, yeah, you're physical. You got that kind of stuff. Again, my parents were able to drop me off and help me set up, you know, the old big computer back in the day and your big, you know, crazy printer. And, you know, Ethernet was like the newest craze. And, you know, setting up my AIM screen name in 1999.
Yeah.
You know, so I got that like long goodbye with my parents, which was nice. But then literally you're like, wait, how do you do anything? Like, you know, but I got a meal card. I had a couple bucks in my pocket. But I will tell you that the craziest thing was you know, when you're just like looking for advice from anybody. And I remember my mom saying like, listen, you're going to be living with someone, you don't really know their personality. Like, you know, be courteous of, you know, if you're going to go somewhere, leave them a note, let them know like when you'll be back and this. So, like, in my head, I'm like, that's what people are supposed to do. So, like, the first day I was like, hey, I'm going to the mess hall. I'll be back. Or I'm going to the... And, like, I remember, like, a week or two later, I heard him talking. He's like, dude, Gary always, like, leaves me notes, like, where he's going to be and stuff.
That's
so
awesome.
Then I realized, I was like, maybe I'll have to... Maybe my like, 50-year-old mom at the time, like, isn't the barometer of, like, what I should be doing with the guys.
Dude, it's so funny.
You don't know. Yeah. Like, I never lived with anybody but my parents. I didn't know.
It's you know... That's the whole generational and advice thing too. That is funny, and the differences we could talk about that another time.
Right, it's a great thing because a lot of times I'll take and I love my parents to death.
That goes hand in hand with what didn't I say like just 15 minutes ago about like our generation doesn't pass like wisdoms on. Like as weird as that wisdom may have been,
right?
You still remember it.
At least it was something,
and you still remember it, and in certain instances it's going to stick with you. Like there's definitely been times where, you know, like my mom would say something like you should send thank you cards for such and such, and I remember being like, really? I'm like, my friends will think it's weird to get a thank you card, you know, for this from me, but of course I would do it because my mom, you know, would say to. But that's the reality is I was probably right. Nobody expected a thank you card, but
it's appreciated.
My mom was actually right. Yeah, that is the right thing to do.
I've actually gotten like some lower level jobs. Just even like my dad would say, you know, call and leave a message, say thanks for spending the time to interview me. Like, you know, I appreciate whether or not I'm a candidate. I appreciate the time you spent with me. And like
Dave
like I was
Thomas
like,
got you that job the very next day.
you're on board.
You
You can clean the gum off all these tables, buddy. You seemed real appreciative
Yeah.
for the opportunity.
Mr. Thomas, I just want to say it seems like you've raised a very fine daughter, and I would very much welcome the opportunity to scrape off gum at your establishment.
And man, can she cook some fries and chili, because that stuff's good.
That move to the real sea salt, I support it.
I don't know if you need my rubber stamp, but here it is. Then the other thing that really sticks out those first couple weeks is the pairing of just different personalities. I'm sure you can echo that with the Marine Corps, throwing
Dude.
young people together. But so track athletes got housed together, freshman athletes. My situation was a little different because I had planned to live with an upperclassman who I already knew. I competed against him.
Oh,
He was like a sophomore or junior when I was a freshman. He ended up, for personal reasons, transferring. So now I don't have
you don't have a battle buddy.
So I just got thrown in a pool of freshman athletes. So me, loud, messy, crazy.
Yeah, I can't imagine being a roommate with like without knowing you and loving you first.
Exactly. Well, I get put with a distance runner, very academic, very straight-laced, very by the book.
And based on distance runner, I'm going to assume like just a different physical build too.
I remember, yes, different build. But I remember a poster he even had like of this really famous distance runner, and it was like, the quote was like, "I don't drink alcohol, I don't kiss girls, like these things are death to an athlete." And like that was his poster.
What?
And I remember reading that and I was like,
He sounds like a real delight.
But I'm going to tell you, by Christmas break, some of him rubbed off on me and some of me rubbed off on him.
Oh, really?
He actually
college is all about experimenting.
Hey,
So
I would wake up and like my hand smelled weird. No, like no, it was awesome. But you can tell like by Christmas break, he wasn't a drinker. I still probably may not be, but he like it stinks. He's one of the guys I totally lost contact with, and I'd love to see where he is in life. I'm going to try to look him up. But by Christmas break, he's like shouting and yelling at the drunk people walking down, because we were in Manhattan College, 242nd Broad Street.
Yeah.
So like, I was like, you can live a little bit, So I think some of his, I think we helped each other.
Yeah.
I loosened him up a bit, and he was like, "Hey, you should probably go to some of these classes. They tell you to. It kind of helps, and like that kind of stuff." Like and him being like, "Dude, you can't leave your pile of dirty clothes like in the corner. Like I have people coming over.
If you're gonna rub off on me, you have to loosen me up a little bit first."
Exactly.
I get it.
But hey, you can't yell at me for getting rubbed on. You just said you did a conga line of tushy dances.
Hey,
but like so,
literally the phrase was, when you would have to get like that, they would say "get nut to butt." Literally, that was the phrase that they used.
Which is weird because I looked up and it says like "Eric it up" or something like that's like.
Come on, baby, do that conga. That's what they're playing Gloria Estefan in the back.
It's just so cool, like to even reminisce about that stuff because, dude, when you talk about it, doesn't it feel like you're talking either about a movie or like a lifetime ago? Like, and it wasn't long ago. We were just joking to the fact that we were talking about that I'm looking at another house and we're moving, and you're like, "Oh, when did you buy it?" You're, 07. 07 is not that long ago, but in our heads, it's like a lifetime.
15 years.
Not the same. Like I could tell you that, man. Like,
yeah,
just everything. I look at like Allie and I were single, and like. We're just different human beings. Like, it's just crazy how fast everything just goes. That's the thing my parents used to say all the time. And
dude,
I'm like,
just think about what's happened in the last 10 years. Like, I mean, I know for me, in the last 10 years, I'm 38. So at 28, I was still in college because I went to college after the Marine Corps. Mm-hmm. So at 28, like I was still in college in an apartment. I wound up going through 3 more apartments before I got to the house that I'm in now. At that point in time, when I was 28, I was just breaking up with a girl that I was living with, actually. In that amount of time, I wound up meeting Bree, getting married. And obviously, she passed away from cancer. Like, think about that's a lot in 10 years.
It's a lot.
I wound up into a career, became a software executive. Now I'm opening a hoagie shop. Like, 10 years.
I can't remember who I said it to. It might have been Allie. It might have been a friend.
Did you just have to do a touch-up?
I did because, like, I think we kind of passed the torch of talking. So, like,
that's what
I just let mine out.
Right.
I forget who I said this to, but I was like, Eric lived a lifetime in the last decade. Like, I think it was like when we kind of were hanging out like the once or twice a year thing, and like, especially like reconnecting after Bree passed. Like, it was one of those things where I was like, I loved our time together, But I remember saying to Ali, I was like, man, he lived like you
Well,
lived,
because for the
you lived
most
a
part,
lifetime.
for the most part, like in that time for you having kids, like you're in the same house, you're raising your kids, you're getting older, but it's like at that point, your
Everything's
life is
self-contained.
your
It
life is
was-
it's pretty linear once you have kids, and,
Yeah.
and for that duration of your
It's
life.
starting to get crazier. Luckily, with COVID, we're still
Yeah.
linear, but like the kids are going to be in different schools, and like you said, sports and
Yeah.
different. They have different personalities, so it's gonna go crazier.
But
the next
when
time.
you're raising little ones, like
It's easy.
it's easier
Sit
to stay
in this
home.
room, watch
Yeah.
this box.
Yeah,
and
it's way easier.
when you're hungry
that
or
way.
you make bathroom, let me know.
So then, after that first week, you actually, I forget, there's a term for it again. I'm forgetting a lot of the specifics. I almost want to say class up, but that's not what they called it in boot camp. That's what they called it at school. You get, after forming, you get put into a platoon. And so in forming, there are, I want to say, what winds up being, it's 6 or 8 platoons.
Okay.
And so what you do is everybody that's in forming together, you're going to all be part of the next class in the next battalion. And there's 4 battalions at Parris Island. 4th battalion is all women. 1st, 2nd, and 3rd battalion are all the men.
Okay.
And so everybody in forming, we all wound up becoming part of 1st battalion, which is kind of known as the weakest battalion, to be honest. 3rd battalion is apparently like the badass battalion.
You'll always be badass.
And then out of 1st battalion,
Mm-hmm.
I wound up in platoon 1098. And so there's like, I want to say of those 6 or whatever, or maybe there was 8 of them, I forget. You're all kind of in that series together. And so for the next 12 weeks, I guess, because it's 13 weeks. The first week was forming, then it's like the next 12 weeks is actual boot camp. You and your platoon and those other platoons all in the same battalion are going lockstep.
Okay.
However, you're in your own little nest of like your 80 or so recruits with your 3 drill instructors in your platoon.
And how many people total, you say, like are on Parris Island at this time?
So there's 4 battalions. Assume that each has, I want to say, I'll just call it 500 recruits at a time.
Okay.
Plus you have
Ballpark,
plus you have your medical battalion, which is throughout all those battalions, like all the boot camp, like you're just doing shit all the time. So there's people getting hurt all the time.
Oh god.
So then there's this whole medical holding battalion of like, I don't know if it's a battalion or whatever, but if people, like if you break your arm, for example,
Then you gotta go start over, right?
it depends.
How bad it
They
is?
have phases.
Okay. So if you miss a
I
phase,
can't remember if they're actually called phases or whatever, or what they're called, and then sometimes there's weeks. So like one of the weeks is, again, I forget what it's called, but you're not really doing anything. You're essentially helping the machine run. So for like a week, we ran, like me and a few other people ran the chow hall.
Wow.
So like there's 1 week out of every, and different people are doing different things.
Right.
Some might be doing lawn maintenance or this or that or whatever.
Wow.
And so, yeah, like you help the machine run too. So in that way, but I forget where I was at. But yeah, so we get into our actual battalion, and it was like day 7. So it's pretty much right after we get in, and then they jam everybody from our whole, I think it was from our whole battalion into, or like at least a few different platoons into one squad bay, which is where normally like one platoon lives, but all spread out. And so what you do is you grab all the bunks and you stack them all in one corner, and then they get everybody in, and then one of the drill instructors came in and told us about 9/11.
That's insane. Yeah, right. You're not watching the news.
But literally, it's this. It's like, hey, 2 planes hit the Twin Towers. Don't have a whole lot of information right now. But if you live in New York City, or like if you lived in New York City, or you have a member of your immediate family that works in Manhattan or in that area or whatever, come with me. You get a quick phone call, and that was it. And so, and then mail is really delayed. So we start getting into the actual boot camp. And, I want to say like a good week or 10 days later is when newspaper clippings start coming in.
That's crazy.
So obviously there's no direct correlation there to college for you, because you weren't in college at that time. Well, you were in college
I was a junior
at the time, but you were.
And it's crazy. I had just transferred from Manhattan College to Monmouth University. So I missed 9/11 by days.
Oh,
wow. Even crazier. So when my dad worked in Tower 2, like that in OSHA, like in Manhattan, but just got his like my junior year of high school when we moved, he became area director of Marlton.
So would he have been in the Twin Towers?
He would have been. Not only that, because he worked for OSHA, he headed the cleanup. So I had like a kind of really more of a view because like I went and helped with some of the cleanup. And, like just it was crazy. Like, but yeah, he's actually in a couple documentaries about it.
Wow.
Yeah, like
wow. So he would have died.
He actually has. He doesn't talk about it a lot, but from the rubble, he has like I don't even know if he's supposed to have it. He has like a coffee can full of stuff and a piece of glass.
Wow.
From like one of the windows.
That's crazy.
And you're like, if you didn't know what it was, and I was like, hey, dude, this piece of glass fell from however tall the building is. You'd be like, dude, that would have crushed somebody. That would have killed somebody. Yeah. And that was just one piece of rubble.
Yeah.
Like it's crazy. Yeah, you know, yeah. I never really had that conversation.
So what happened on the college campus?
Well, especially with Monmouth, because we were right on the shore. Like we all kind of went. We drove to Sandy Hook, and like we watched like the smoke off the towers, and like I tried to reach my buddies. Like I lived on when I was at Manhattan College. We lived on 242nd Broad. We're only 200 blocks away.
200 blocks away.
Yeah.
Dang, that's a lot of blocks. I didn't know. I know there was that many blocks.
Well, right. Well, Manhattan College was actually in Riverdale. It started in Manhattan, kept the name, and then moved to Riverdale, New York. So we were like in the Bronx.
Isn't that where Archie and Jughead were from? Riverdale?
Yeah, they were, but Riverdale, yeah. Yes. They survived. They were fine. No, yeah, the Riverdale gang. Yeah, Riverdale was an area in New York. I don't know if that's the same Riverdale, though. Like,
I don't know.
That's where they took it from.
I don't know. I only knew that because of the teeny bopper show Riverdale that was on recently or is on or whatever.
Do you watch it?
I did. I watched like a season and a half of it, and then
after Luke Perry passed, you were like, I can't do it anymore.
I think I stopped before he passed. He was in that.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
That's why he couldn't do the 90210 reboot. Because he already had a...
He's like, sorry, guys. I'm in this... I got an Archie thing going on.
He was like Jughead's dad.
Yeah, he was. No, Jughead's dad was Skeet Ulrich.
Skeet Ulrich had a job? Not looking like...
Yes. Skeet Ulrich was Jughead's dad. Luke Perry then was
somebody's.
Archie's dad.
Was it?
Yeah, I think so. That's so funny. Oh my god.
So my little fact, and it talks about our age, which I'm proud of us. We usually talk about how old we feel and how old we are. I guess kind of that kind of fits into this. But Happy Gilmore turned 25.
Yeah.
Did you see the little promo that Adam Sandler did the run-up golf swing?
Nah.
Doesn't show where the ball goes. He was like, oh, I really got a hold of that one. He's like, in your face, Shooter McGavin.
He just did that recently? Or?
Yeah. And like the next day, the actor who played Shooter McGavin, Chris McDonald, like did a putt in his living room into a cup and is like, still got it. Like they went, it's kind of cool. They went back
I
and
didn't
forth.
see that. I'm going to have to look that up.
25 years ago, Happy Gilmore.
Yeah.
Valentine's Day was 20 years since Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back. I know we're a big Jersey trilogy guy.
Since it came out,
yeah,
or
came out. On
I think the thing you
Day.
Sent me was since they shot that scene.
Since they shot that scene.
Yeah.
But dude, 20 years coming up on Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back is like seems like one of the newer ones in my head, and it's 19, 20 years.
Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back was, I think it was the last, if not the last, one of the last movies I saw in theaters before going to boot camp.
Wow.
Yeah.
So,
it wasn't the last. It was one of the last. It was towards the end. But
so then
because from Jay and Bob's, the girl I was dating at the time, our pet name for each other became Boo Boo Kitty Fuck because of that movie. I swear to God, like I probably still in my attic have letters from her to boot camp that say like Boo Boo Kitty Fuck in them. It's pretty funny.
Well, as long as it says
she's actually getting engaged now. She's getting married.
Really?
Yeah.
Are you gonna like run in and stop everything?
No. But she did text me to see where I got married because she liked the picture so much. Would that be weird? Isn't that weird? I didn't really think it was weird until I just said it out loud.
That's the weirdest thing I've ever heard.
That is weird. Can you imagine if she gets married? Oh my God, if my high school sweetheart gets married at the same place that I got married, that would be
because you got married there and liked the picture. But does that mean she was like looking and you know what I mean?
It's Facebook.
Are you Facebook friends with her?
Yeah, that's how I know.
Okay.
Yeah. No, that would be crazy. No, now I'll go back and look at my wedding pictures and like zoom in on the windows and you see like a picture of her in the background.
Wait, that minister looks familiar.
Oh my god.
What are you getting flavor wise? Very consistent smoke. At least that's
It
what
is
I'm
very
getting.
consistent, yeah.
Pepper here, pepper there. Not a ton, just on the finish. But
Yeah, I almost
chocolatey, good.
has it. I almost want to say I'm a little like less into it right now than I was when I first lit it.
First light, I got some flavor. Then it got real consistent. I may be a little bit ahead of you, but the midpoint, it picked back up again. But I would definitely say this is a mild to medium at the most.
Yeah.
Like, this is a medium stick. But I would say good enough to like, I wouldn't have it in my mouth like mowing the lawn or anything. Like,
No.
you want to still pay some attention to this stick.
Yeah,
but,
no, I definitely really like it. I'm just now normally I'll do a little research before we do an episode, and I kind of regret doing the research. This one I actually feel like I regret not doing the research because now I'm curious what the internet says in terms of where it falls in line with the other rats in terms of notes and strength.
Yeah.
But
I mean, from memory, I would say this is more mild than the Velvet and even the
if
Year
you're
of.
known for one thing, it's your memory.
No, Gary Memory, they call me.
Gary Memory, they call me.
But just I've made it a note at least to remember some of the rat sticks and.
No, you have a way better memory than I do for remembering stick notes for sure.
My wife always says, she's like, you have a strength to remember non-essential things.
I do too, in a weird way. Yeah, like some of the weird stuff I'll remember. I'm really good at anchoring things to dates. Like,
that's
when
good.
things happen, I'm really good at anchoring them to other events rather that like help. And then for some random reason, like I could be in conversations with people, and if they refer back to something, I'll be like, "Oh yeah, that was like 2009," and they'll be like, "What?" I'm like, "I don't know. I don't know."
Eric Rain Man.
I don't remember anything important though.
You call
Yeah.
you Rain Man.
Yeah,
But you know what? My son and I were watching the reboot of Cash Cab. You ever watch Cash
it's
Cab?
rebooted.
In 2019 it was. I don't
Okay.
think COVID. But cool.
I don't think COVID was very good to Cash Cab. Probably not.
Not to Ben Bailey's career.
Is it the same host?
Same guy. Which
It's not
most-
Cash Uber now.
no.
Like how?
Cab's in Manhattan. It's in New York.
No, I know,
They're
but think
still
about
big.
it. Wouldn't you try to get like Uber to sponsor it?
Oh my God, yeah, totally.
Like,
But I thought about it. He had to have his, and I think he was a stand-up comic. Most stand-up comics probably drove a cab, especially if you're trying to make it in New York, because it gives you a lot of free time to do stage stuff and time and all that.
there's a couple options
So
when
he
you're trying to make it, and if you don't fit a couple qualifications, porn's out. So
I don't know that Ben Bailey would be. That would be. I don't know. I could see Ben Bailey in an adult film. But my son, going back to why I brought up Cash Cab, I like knew all the answers, and my son's like, "Why don't you just go on the show?" That I was like, "Well, you can't just go on." Cash Cab. And I was like, "I just happen to know this episode." Probably because I saw it 4 times already, but no.
Like, Dad, you should go on Jeopardy. Very different topics.
I'd be like when Happy Gilmore was like dog poo and the flaming response. Like, yeah, that's a category I could really do well. Even cigars, like it would be such a scary category because there's like it's like
I just picture you getting in a cab, and then there being like a camera in the front of it, and then you get in all excited, and you see the camera, and you're like, "Is this the Cash Cab?" And then you hear like the doors locked, and they're like, "No, it's the Taxi Cab Confessions."
I forgot about that show.
Yeah, remember that? I mean, we were young for it. Like I think when that was big, we were too young to be watching it. But
to be honest,
we were.
the only real because I don't think I ever really saw it. Wasn't it HBO? Like
Yeah, it was HBO.
After Hours or something.
Yeah, and that and Real Sex.
SNL used to do a spoof on Taxi Cab Confessions, and that's like I was a huge SNL kid, so like that's really the only way. I'm still an SNL.
Do you
kid.
remember Real Sex on HBO? That was a series that was, it got raw. Like it was,
I remember the show. I didn't see enough to remember. Like,
so
the premise.
they would just hit like different sex topics and be kind of educational, you know. But it was like also kind of soft core.
Remember Love Lines or
I do, but
Love
here's
Phones?
hold on. So on Real Sex, there was one about masturbation, and I was probably in like middle school when I'm catching this, right, and not supposed to be watching it. And I
get in trouble.
I could only watch it in random circumstances, like if you happen to get, periodically you'd get a free HBO week or something like that,
Right.
things like that, because we didn't have HBO, or like if I was staying at a friend's house or whatever, and there was a Real Sex episode on masturbation. Now, I'm in middle school, and there's this woman, like sex worker, sex expert, whatever, Probably
Are sex workers
I would say
experts?
probably sex ex. Well, yes, but I should probably they are not the same thing. I didn't. but 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 so and what she said is she said
I'm your expert.
She said masturbation is a form of sex, and so like 12-year-old me for like a good week was like, technically I'm not a virgin.
3 times over today.
Yeah, seriously. For like a good week, I'm like I think I'm like convinced myself. I didn't
You're
really
you felt worldly.
I
You felt
tried
like
to convince myself. For like a good week, I'm not like I've had sex then, like she said, but then eventually it was like, all right, let me just tell myself the truth.
Eric took much of his advice from sex workers.
Sex workers and Uncle Jesse.
It'd be a great rock name.
Sex workers
and Uncle Jesse.
or Uncle Jesse.
Uncle
and the
Jesse and the sex
worker?
workers. Yeah,
No, I don't
not.
think so. Maybe not.
All right, scratch that off. If we form a band, that won't be it.
John and the Jane Does.
There you go. Jane, yeah, that's not bad.
Oh Jesus!
Did you drop?
I dropped cigar down.
Hey, okay, that's a first.
Is it a first?
You didn't drop yours, and that was a real drop.
That was a real drop. Like I tried to catch it, and then I caught the cherry of it, and dropped it again, and
I did a total rookie move, and
my hands
put the lit end in my mouth a couple nights ago.
Oh my God, that's when you're a big cigarette smoker, or like at least a drunk cigarette smoker. That's a big thing that like every cigarette smoker has done. Just actually try to light it backwards.
Oh, okay.
And that's the worst because, oftentimes drunk at the bar, cigarettes become a commodity because you're smoking so many.
Yeah.
And so like you light it backwards and it melts the filter. So like it's instantly done. Like you just ruin a whole cigarette. Like that's the biggest cardinal sin.
For some reason, I'm the guy at the barbecue where 9 times out of 10, if people are ashing in a can of soda, I'll grab that can of soda mistakenly. Like, when there's a little soda left in it and they use it to like just put out their cigarettes. Yeah. I'm the guy that's like, oh, there's a little.
So like me and my and Jay, who obviously I've talked about a bunch, and he's getting his second dose vaccine soon too, so he's going to come be on an episode.
That's awesome.
In a few weeks, but
looking forward.
When he was a cigarette smoker too, both of us, if we're going to use a can, you push in the whole top, so you break open the mouth so that it's just a big hole.
Good advice, everyone.
Good advice.
Watching.
So that way nobody can make that mistake. It's the courteous thing.
And then you're like, you want to spit it out, but you don't want to be showing everyone that you're the dude that is ashes. So you got to like do it.
And spitting's rude. Like
spitting is rude.
You got to commit at that point, bro. Swallow. Come on.
I don't know. I've never swallowed it. I'm a spitter. I'm gonna put it on camera.
Commit.
So yeah, I don't know where I would rank this in the Rat series. But,
I don't have a good enough memory. It's good.
I like
it's with the Ligas.
It's a Liga, and I would say it's consistent. I would say it's consistent. Like I would give this a more consistent.
If I'm trying to think back, like I want to say like the feral pig, not a rat, but a Unico. Like I want to say that I like that better. I want to say that I probably liked the You're the Rat or the Velvet Rat better.
Mm-hmm.
But that's like, it's not really fair. Like this is
right.
It's like had I not had those, this is the best.
No,
so
exactly.
so it's kind of like.
And this was the first.
To the same family.
This was the first Unico series.
Was it?
Yeah. This is when Saka and then blended it.
At what point are they no longer do they come out with a dose series?
Well, now, so I found out what Unico means.
It's unicorn.
Unique.
Interesting.
So where they got it again when Saka was president over at Drew Estate, and that's why we kind of get excited because having him be the head of this blending, which again is why they're good and consistent and all. He said they already had the number 9 in the T52, and he was like, "Well, it's definitely different. This is definitely a unique version of those kind of sticks," and that's where they'll go. Let's do a Unico series, and even though we use Uno with the 1 on the play on the 1 for our episodes,
yeah. And I guess to be fair, we did it knowing that we were probably wrong too.
Oh yeah,
like we weren't. That's not where it started. That was a coincidence. And then we just stuck with it. But
true. We made the parallel because we were like, we should every episode that ends, the 1.
Right, because that's going to carry us to almost 100.
Yeah.
Like episode 91, because obviously we still I don't know.
Bunch.
There's got to be at least another.
And I'm sure they'll continue to add to them.
Maybe.
And then we can always move on to the pigs or something else.
Oh yeah, that's what I mean. That's what I mean. As we just extend throughout the Unico sticks, we'll be able to hit Unicos on the 1s.
DJ Unico on the 1s and 2s
as we keep going. But I don't know, bud. You ready to wrap this guy up?
Yeah, I'm ready to call it. I mean, definitely, I would recommend it as a smoke. I even think like to a rather newer smoker, it'd be a good entrance to a high level stick, where I don't think it's overpowering. I don't think it's going to get you that cigar sickness. It's a good way to introduce the higher
Although,
level.
Wouldn't you say like a Davidoff would do the baby? Like you can get some really mild Davidoffs and stuff too.
Very true.
I think would
Very
probably
true.
be better for a new smoker. Like if this is somebody's,
If they were like, what year of the rat? I guess I'll clarify that. If they were like, what year of the rat should I start with? Like, I think it's a good starter.
It's not a year of the rat. It's a dirty rat.
I'm sorry, a rat. What rat should I start with? Right.
But they're not really related. Aren't the rats? Isn't that kind of a misnomer? Like, aren't the rats as related as any of the Unico sticks? I don't know. Or are they more related? I don't even know.
I don't know.
It's worth looking up if they even publish it. But they probably don't even get that specific. But all right, bud. So yeah, as always, this was great. It's kind of cool. I don't think we mentioned it. This is the first time we shot on like a Saturday morning, so that was kind of fun.
We got like a day.
Waking up, grabbing a shower, and coming out and shooting, and
having an early
morning
stick on a Saturday.
I know. We should have had coffee. Why didn't I have coffee with this? That's stupid of us.
We are. Next Saturday shoot. We'll do coffees.
All right, but as always, long ashes.
Stay smoky, everybody.
Thanks for checking out the Cedar Culture Podcast. If you'd like that episode, go ahead, tap like, follow, subscribe, whatever it is on your platform of choice. And if you are on YouTube, hit that bell as well to be notified of new episodes. It really helps us out. We appreciate it.
And then don't forget to head over to Instagram and Facebook and follow us as well.
Do it.
Do it.